Well, one of the things you can do to change or add texture or improve the feel of a knife or sword hilt is to wrap it. And there are a number of materials you can use to wrap it with, including wire, leather, cordage of various types. Now, I'm not real keen on wrapping because there is a tendency for some of these materials to loosen up, and they can be difficult to tighten up. And there are ways to avoid it. For example, with leather, if you just use an adhesive to attach it, and you can use either leather strips or just a piece of leather wrapped around it. You can also, for example, my 1860 cavalry saber, it's got leather wrapped in wire. Of course, wire doesn't stretch. Now, wire for me tends to be a little uncomfortable. You find it on swords, but of course, a lot of the swords were designed you're supposed to be wearing a glove when you're wielding them anyway. It gives a good grip. It's got the standard problems with metal, which can be in cold weather, whatever. But on a working blade, I'm not too keen on them. Now, one of the common ones is the cordage, especially now. And one of the things I like to use is paracord, which has a lot of stretch to it, which means it's difficult to keep it tight. So you've got to do some maintenance on it. Now, this is just a standard static line. I mean, it doesn't stretch, doesn't have any particular give to it. And the thought behind this, you'll see it on a lot of survival knives, is that you've got the cordage with you, you can take it off. And of course, the question then is, what are you going to hang on to once you pull the cordage off? Or if you only use a little bit of it, now what? You got a knot or something. A better option might be just to wrap your cordage around your sheath. So you get whatever knife handle you've got, then you've got the cordage with you, or put it in your pocket or whatever. But so this is cord wrapped, and I've actually done this for a couple of guys that wanted the cord wrapped. And I laid some adhesive down, then wrapped it with the cord. They weren't intending to use it as a survival blade where they were going to pull the cord off and make snares or whatever out of it. Now, another type you'll see is leather, and again, it can be either just like one piece of leather wrapped around or some strips of leather. And it's got the same issues that any leather handle does. There's a certain amount of maintenance to it. And in addition, if you oil it up, get it wet or whatever, again, it can loosen up. You got to tighten it up, unless you put some kind of adhesive underneath it. And myself, I really don't much care for the feel of it, but that's personal preference entirely. Another option is, of course, the wire wrap, and that's a traditional thing you see on a lot of swords. And it gives much better texture than a cast metal, and prior to being able to machine in knurling or checkering or whatever, this was a good, quick option. It doesn't loosen up. You get it tight to begin with, it stays put. And it gives a good grip. This one's not bad. Some of them I felt were, again, very uncomfortable unless you were wearing a glove to cushion it a little, because there is no cushioning there, and in cold weather it gets cold. But done properly, it's a solid enough texture on there. And then, of course, you get the Japanese, and they used ray skin or shark skin, which was popular all over the world because it's a texture similar to sandpaper. It was used as sandpaper, for example. It gives a good, solid grip on the sword, although it can be a little hard on the hands. But, of course, if you're a professional swordsman, your hands are going to be tough enough anyway. And then they use it in combination with the cloth wrapping. So you get the combination, you get the feel you like. So it's an easy material to work with, to get the textures you're looking for. As I said, my personal preference, simply because it can loosen up, does require some maintenance. It's not a particularly durable or rugged. I mean, if this hits something sharp, that cloth, same thing with the cordage or the leather, it's relatively easily damaged compared to some other things. So on a fighting knife, I would not use a wrapped handle. And like I said, the idea on the survival blades of being able to unwrap it is, what are you going to do once you've unwrapped it? What's underneath there that you're going to have to use? Again, might be better off just throw some in your pocket or wrap it around the sheath. But anyway, so that's one form of texturing you can find on the handles of swords, fighting knives, whatnot. It's not one of my favorites, but it is an option.